All right, back to familiar territory here at SFO Terminal 2. It is Thursday, January 24th. So flying out to Vegas today, going to be there for a few days through Sunday, the 27th, and we'll put in some time at the tables out there.
Like where you at. I like everything about you. Everything about you.
All right, it's Saturday, January 26th here at the Venetian. Currently sitting in the sports book waiting for my seat at the 2-5 game. So I'm going to put in a little bit of a short session here, see if we can run it up a bit. Do have dinner plans, so I don't plan to play too long. All right, just closing up a quick session here at the Venetian. It's about 6:15 on the table for around 3 hours or so. Two hands of notes. The first hand, I have ace of spades, king of clubs, and close to me in the cutoff, open to a standard $20. Only the small blind makes the call. Flop comes jack 8-7, all spades. Pretty good flop, flopping the nut flush draw here. The small blind checks, I bet $25, and the player actually min raises to $50. I don't see too much other than calling here, and that's what I do. Turn pairs the board, it's 8 of hearts, not the best card. And he bets $125 this time. I think I threw for a little bit. At this point, even if I make my hand, although it's very unlikely that he has a full house, I'm just not never going to feel really that great, even if I make my hand. So I go ahead and just make a tight fold. Next interesting hand, I have about 330 to start this hand. There's an early position limp. I limp in the cutoff with ace deuce of diamonds. The small blind bumps it up to $30, and only I make the call. Typically, I would like to raise with a hand like ace deuce of diamonds, particularly in this position, but given that we're pretty shallow here with our stack size, I go ahead and just a limp call here. Flop's a decent flop here. It's 9-5-5, 2 diamonds. The player continues for $60, and I call. The turn is an ace of spades, a really great card. And he bets again for $125. I got about $260 left in the stack. And I think it through. It's a pretty good card for me because I don't think he has too many aces here. The only aces he really should have are ace-high flush draws, and we have that hand. So unless he was just playing pretty aggressive with his flop bet with a hand like ace-king, I just can't see us being behind here. And so rather than waiting for the river to jam in case a diamond does come at this point and it scares this player off from essentially me getting full value on my hand, I just go ahead and jam it in here to make it look like I still have some bluffs in my hand, like a flush draw. And he calls after he thinks it through for a bit. The river is a deuce of clubs. I turn my hand over and he kindly knocks on the table indicating that our hand is good. So nice to win this little pot here to double up. So play for another little while after. Not too many other hands that are notable. Was stuck around 400 or 500 at one point, and ultimately battled back and booked a $112 win. And going to meet a couple friends now for dinner at the Bacchanal buffet at Caesar's Palace. I think it's like a $75 buffet. So happy to win just enough, I guess, to cover a buffet. After dinner, we're gonna go hang out for a little bit, but I plan to put in another session at a different property. So I will see you guys shortly.
Like where about you. Everything about you.
Alright, closing up a session at the Aria. Started the session around 12:30 maybe. It's currently 5:35 in the AM. Pretty long session, probably the longest session I've played in Vegas in the wee hours in a while. And I gotta say, the games can get pretty crazy, especially on a Saturday night with people drinking and whatnot. 2 hands of notes to share. All right, so first hand, it folds to me in middle position with Queen Jack of Spades, and I open it up to a standard $20. Both the blinds make the call. Flop comes Jack 10-9 rainbow, so we flop top pair, open in a straight draw with a backdoor flush draw. Checks to me, I put a continuation bet of $40, and only the big blind makes the call. The turn comes an ace of clubs, bringing in a backdoor flush draw. It checks through this time, and the river brings a jack of clubs, so the backdoor club draw does indeed get there. He checks it one more time. At this point, with trip jacks here, definitely a good spot to go for value when the opponent has shown weakness on all 3 streets. So I bet $75, and he tanks for a bit, and he calls, and take this one down. Our next interesting hand comes when we're actually playing 5-handed. The button opens it up to $20. I've got about 380 in my stack, dwindle down a little bit, and I pick up ace queen offsuit in the small blind. I put in a 3-bet to $80. The big blind calls and the button calls. So we got 3 ways to a flop of Jack 10-3 rainbow. Given that I have a bit of a range advantage and I've got a pretty awkward stack size and still some decent equity with this hand, just jam all in on this flop. The big blind makes a pretty quick fold, and the button doesn't think too long and makes the call. So not feeling good about that, given that he called fairly quickly. The turn comes a 3 of hearts, and the river comes a 5 of hearts. So we're left with ace high here. I just turn my hand over thinking that's pretty much dead here, and he actually mucks his hand. So we go ahead and take this one down ace high. The only hand that makes sense is probably a hand like queen 9 or king queen where he had a straight draw. So it's nice to take that pot down. So those were the only 2 interesting hands to note. The rest of the night I was pretty card dead, to be perfectly honest, and there were a lot of different spots that could have been profitable. To be honest, there were a lot of drunk players that were kind of just splashing around quite a bit, but just was card dead really all night. And I think sometimes you do your best to just play optimal poker. You try to maybe just stick to your ranges and things like that, maybe loosen it up a little bit depending on the game. But all in all, I tried to stay playing pretty optimal poker, but just couldn't make any hands tonight. And ultimately, with all that said, I was in the game for 600 and I cashed out for about 447, I believe. So book a loss of $150. So yeah, not too many interesting spots. Apologies for that in terms of the hands. There were really no fun hands to share. So that caps off things for Vegas, and yeah, I'll see you all back in the Bay Area.